the higher they're going to have to rise, the more painful the cure becomes. So it is going to be disaster. Even if we do everything right at this point, since we've delayed it for so long, it's going to be a train wreck. But at least if we do everything right, we can walk away from the train wreck. But if we continue on this path, everybody's going to die. So let's do the right thing while we still have a chance.
That's right. We've seen the big tax and spend globalist model that doesn't work. CEO of Euro Pacific Capital, Peter Schiff, thank you so much for spending time with us.
Sure. Thanks for having me on, Alex.
Wow, that interview went long. I mean, I'm sorry, I just can't keep the news to the format when you got people like Peter Schiff on. Just amazing information. We're going to go to break and come back and talk to Kurt Haskell. He was the guy that witnessed with his wife the U.S. government helping get the underwear bomber on the plane, and a month and a half later, the Undersecretary of State had to admit, yeah, we were ordered to help give him a passport and get him on the plane. Then that was used to put in the naked body scanners. Now the TSA is training the NFL to grope every man, woman, and child that comes into a sports stadium. We're going to talk to him about that and a lot more after this quick break. I'm Alex Jones with InfoWars Nightly News at InfoWars.com.
Obama is notoriously a liar.
We need to go to where the real architecture of government is, and it's not in a president.
Wall Street has hijacked Washington in broad daylight.
Well, Obama's already fudging. He's fudged since day one in this election.
The elite are using Obama to pacify the public so they can usher in the North American Union by stealth, launch a new Cold War, and continue the occupation of Iraq and Afghanistan.
The globalists are outside all the nations. That gives them safety, and they play countries off against each other.
We've got to give them a stake in creating the kind of world order that I think all of us would like to see.
Partnership and cooperation among nations is not a choice. It is the only way.
What they're doing is using the existence of the United States to act out their Wall Street fantasies of world domination and maintaining their capital structures and maintaining their system of looting.
The fight that this country has been waging since its inception is for the central bankers not to take over the country.
President Barack Obama is only the tool of a larger agenda.
Senator Obama had a desire to do some meetings. Others have a desire to meet with him tonight in a private way, and that's what we're doing.
Presidential candidate Barack Obama was publicly criticizing the North American Free Trade Agreement in a bid for votes, but privately telling Canadian officials not to worry about it.
If you talk to our generals, they are desperate for is a civilian counterpart to our military force.
What do you call this thing where you get this false sense of gratification, but because a black man is in office, everything's gonna be all right? No, everything's not gonna be all right.
So I know how unpopular it is to be seen as helping banks right now, especially when everyone is suffering in part from their bad decisions. I promise you, I get it.
The Obama deception. The truth strikes back. Get your copy of the Obama Deception today at InfoWars.com or download it in super high quality at PrisonPlanet.tv.
It is a big idea, a new world order.
In the near future, Earth is dominated by a powerful world government.
It's known as the Bilderberg Group. Could their objective be world domination?
For thousands of years, their dark order grew. Now, as they hail the birth of the New World Order, their great dream of exterminating 80% of humanity is at hand. For the first time in history, the elite's plan for world government is blown wide open. You will learn the secret that drives the entire New World Order agenda.
Bilderberg is making great progress toward a world government, and only an educated, informed public can stop them in their tracks.
Alex, it's Chalabi, eh?
For the first time, all the pieces have been put together. The dots have been connected, and the picture is crystal clear. Earth's ruling elite believe they have discovered the fountain of youth. But before they can attain it, 80% of us must die. A psychopathic technocracy is establishing world government so there can be no escape from their plan.
The New World Order is the Old World Order. I mean, it's just the names have changed, the appearances have changed.
Most people have no idea. They're not after money. They have all the money they need. They're after power. That's their aphrodisiac.
I was pulled out of a plane in Munich. They interrogated me for 4 hours. Some shots were fired.
I need you to move off the property.
Their great dream of exterminating 80% of humanity is at hand. Endgame, blueprint for global enslavement. You have been warned.
The establishment called him extreme and unelectable. They said he was the wrong man for the job. It's why a young Texan named Ron Paul was one of only 4 congressmen to endorse Ronald Reagan's campaign for president, believing in Reagan's message of smaller government and lower taxes. After Reagan, Senator Al Gore ran for president, pledging to raise taxes and increase spending, pushing his liberal values. And Al Gore found a cheerleader in Texas named Rick Perry. Rick Perry helped lead Al Gore's campaign to undo the Reagan Revolution, fighting to elect Al Gore President of the United States. Now, America must decide who to trust, Al Gore's Texas cheerleader or the one who stood with Reagan. Ron Paul, restore America now.
Welcome back. It's InfoWars Nightly News. It is September 20th, 2011 on this Tuesday edition, and we're about to get to the conclusion of tonight's transmission with Kurt Haskell. He's one of the survivors of the attack on the plane from Amsterdam to Detroit, Michigan, a couple Christmases ago, and he witnessed some things that are incredible. You see, they're now announcing the jury selection for the underwear bomber, and the underwear bomber doesn't want his lawyers to represent him. And Mr. Haskell has been there at the trial. He himself is a lawyer, and, well, he has, again, some information that is bombshell, to say the least. He will be joining us today, and he's also going to tell us what the lawyers for the underwear bomber are now thinking is really going on. This is breaking news coming up today. But first off, you've heard about Big Sis and the giant telescreens everywhere in the aftermath of the underwear bomber. The 9,000 locations of malls and Walmart saying don't trust anybody but government. Of course, don't trust anybody but the police state. And now, of course, they've got TV ads on saying don't trust your neighbors, and Al-Qaeda is everywhere, and rebranding it over to the Tea Party and anybody who's a libertarian. Well, now they're going to pay coffee shops and transit facilities and others to put the little sleeve that goes on the coffee so you don't burn your hand, little cardboard hand holder, to have a classically Orwellian archetypal all-seeing eye staring at you saying, if you see something, say something. So the message is, you're being watched, you're a terrorist, and at the same time, don't trust anybody else. Everybody is a terrorist. And, of course, this is the exact message you would expect to get from the very people that are indeed the terrorists. You see, 10 years after 9/11, things are only going to get worse. More groping, more checkpoints with TSA-trained goons grabbing your wife's breasts and your child's genitals at the NFL football game. Not less. The more liberty you give up, the more tyranny you will live under. The American people, over 85%, are sick and tired of the private Federal Reserve and want it abolished. I've seen polls of close to 90% against Rick Perry's attempt to force Gardasil shots. USA Today, 85% against the TSA. I tell you, I talk to people on the street. It's more like 98%. I've talked to reporters at local TV stations when they've got to go down and do an interview, and they're told, find somebody who supports the TSA and what they're doing. They've got to interview 40-plus people to find one person that supports it. In fact, that's an idea for tomorrow. A man on the street in Austin will get into the TSA at the airports. But now they're expanding out, as we've already covered, to the NFL. Now, what was the latest stunt of the TSA and the naked body scanner manufacturers and those that make money from it, like Chertoff? It was promoting naked body scanners now a year and a half ago when the Christmas Day underwear bomber struck. Well, it was Kurt Haskell and, of course, his wife, both lawyers, who witnessed the sharp-dressed man getting him on the plane without the passport. And a month and a half later, the State Department came out and said, well, it is true that an unnamed U.S. agency asked us to help him get a visa. This is bombshell information. This is much bigger than Fast and Furious. They just released audio recordings of the ATF trying to cover up they were shipping guns into Mexico to blame the Second Amendment. Another false flag attack on this country's rights. And this is the guy, in the face of media scrutiny and the FBI visiting him and the media saying, oh, this Haskell guy, you know, he's off in left field. Well, it all turned out to be true, and then other witnesses stepped forward on the other issues. So with us is Kurt Haskell to look at the aftermath of how this has been used to further chop America up, basically, and turn it into a police state because, well, the trial of the underwear bomber, and Mr. Haskell's a lawyer, so he can speak to this with some expertise, has now just gotten ready to begin. And he joins us. Thank you so much, sir, for being on with us.
Hey, Alex. Good to be back.
Well, my friend, you know, I've always got a lot of I want to make, but you've got the floor. You want to recap the historical thing you witnessed with the underwear firecracker bomber that we all have to run in fear of, or do you want to get into the latest information you've garnered?
You know, it's up to you, Alex. Do you have a preference where you want to start?
Let's start wherever you'd like.
Okay. Well, I guess we'll start with what I saw in Amsterdam, in case someone's watching or listening that doesn't know who I am. You know, back on Christmas Day 2009, my wife Lori and I were traveling back from Africa, passing through Amsterdam on our way to Detroit, sitting at the gate playing cards, and I saw an Indian man around age 50 wearing a tan suit, walking with, looked like an African teenager who had on jeans and a white T-shirt, didn't have a coat, didn't have any bags. Remember, we're in the middle of winter, and Amsterdam's pretty cold. It's about as cold as it is around here in Detroit in winter. And, you know, I thought they were an odd pair. So I watched them as we were playing cards. They went up to the desk to get